Building in Fortnite has evolved into one of the most skillful mechanics in gaming. For players and viewers just getting into the game, it can be difficult to understand what's going on, so here's everything you need to know about building. In Fortnite, there are 4 different structures you could build: a wall, floor, stair, or cone. To place these, you need materials which you gather around the map in the form of wood, brick, or metal. Wood is the weakest but easiest to obtain, while metal is the strongest but hardest to obtain. Each build costs 10 materials, and you can hold up to 1,000 in casual playlists and 500 in competitive playlists. Fortnite operates on the invisible build grid, which dictates where builds place in order to prevent them from overlapping or placing randomly. Where you place builds is dependent on how you're positioned, as well as where you're looking in the building grid, which you can see when holding your blueprint out. All this is pretty straightforward, but this feature turned building into what it is today. Editing allows you to select tiles of your builds to transform it into a different structure. This creates 85 unique builds, with the primary functions being making peaks and creating openings to walk through. This gets more complex than it sounds, so we'll come back to it. In competitive, peaks are an integral part of the game. There's tons of edits you could create a peak from, but what determines a good peak is if it creates a right hand advantage. In Fortnite, the crosshair sits above the right shoulder of your character, meaning you could see and shoot earlier on the right side, as opposed to the left where you have to expose your character more. The most popular edit to get this advantage is the top right corner edit, also known as a peanut butter, due to it having a similar shape to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I guess. This peak fully covers your character while allowing you to see everything past the wall. To minimize the chance of taking damage, the peak is executed by jumping while moving to the left, giving the opponent little time to shoot while allowing you to get a clean shot off. Another common peak is the window edit. To maximize the right hand and avoid taking damage, players will stand on the left side of the window, shoot while moving into it, then quickly reset to prevent return damage. Any build you edit can be reset by selecting the build, resetting the tiles, then confirming. The input for this is edit bind, reset bind, edit bind, and with practice you could reset edits fast, but keyboard players figured out you could bind this to your scroll wheel and simply scroll up or down to reset almost instantly. While majority of editing is done while builds are placed, you could also edit the blueprint of your build to make all future builds that structure. This is called a pre-edit, and in most cases, sucks. But in team modes, players will have one player create a pre-edit while the others break an opponent's wall to replace it, instantly exposing them while eliminating the extra step of editing the wall. I'll make an entire video explaining more trio plays and tournaments, so if you're interested, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Unlike other games where aiming is the most important skill to win fights, in Fortnite it's piece control, and mastering the skill is what separates the best fighters from everyone else. Piece control is essentially claiming builds to create opportunities for a kill and can be broken down into 3 levels. The simplest form is build replacing. In a fight where the opponent is boxed up, players will try to wall replace to get A control over the wall and make a peek to get damage. This is one of the oldest moves in fighting and has evolved to become safer and more efficient over time. However, this is a very one-dimensional way of fighting and can be ineffective if you fail to take the wall or the opponent makes more boxes. Which brings us to level 2, forcing builds. Every time a build breaks, there's a 150 millisecond delay before it can be built again. In that delay, you could place builds through it as another way to gain piece control. Good players will constantly look and claim missing builds to give them an advantage and possibly a kill. In this clip, he was able to claim his opponent's missing back wall, which allowed him to get a free peek and kill. The most common version of this is forcing a cone or stair into the opponent's box. Having control over this piece means they can't build or edit up to defend themselves if you take their wall, so they usually leave that box, and that's when the 3rd level comes into play. After forcing a player out their box, the next step to end the fight is to predict where they're going and claim the pieces before they can. If you're successful in doing this, the opponent will be defenseless and you could pick up a free kill. Success rates are dependent upon how well you're able to read your opponent, which comes from experience and recognizing patterns, which is what really separates pros from everyone else. In this clip, Polarize forces the stair in his opponent's box and knows he's likely to edit out as fast as possible. He's on the right side of the box, which means the quickest way would be to the right. Polarize knows this and immediately claims the builds before picking up the kill. You can see when the opponent edits out, he's trying to build a wall to protect himself, but Polarize already has control over it. Proving that wasn't just luck, in this clip, Polarize forces a cone into the player's box and actually traps him inside. The fastest way for the opponent to get out is by editing his floor and dropping down, which Polarize immediately pieces and picks up the kill. Almost every fight you see will contain piece control, and it has evolved and become more advanced over time, creating more and more impressive moves. Piece control dates all the way back to 2018 when this clip came out of Hamlin's using a cone to block his opponent from ramping up. But while piece control was evolving, so were its counters. Players learned to start placing their own cones and edit through to prevent getting blocked. As time went on, they started placing and editing through their own floors and walls as well, so there was no way they could get blocked while editing up. We're now at the point where players are building and editing through every possible space to prevent getting pieced, also known as edit coursing. The name comes from old creative maps designed for you to edit pre-placed builds to push your edit speed. Is it necessary in most cases? Probably not, but does it make you look fly as hell? Yes, creative is responsible for elevating the mechanical skill ceiling and turn building into what it is today. If you want a better understanding of how we got here, check out these videos on the evolution of building.